Welcome back, esteemed guests, and welcome to episode 3 of Cheflocked, the series where Clarence cooks his way through every classic Azeroth recipe in order, and I recreate one dish from each episode right here in my very real, very mortal kitchen. Before we dive into today's culinary chaos, let's take a quick look back at episode 2, because wow, Clarence had quite the adventure. Last time, our determined chef in training wrapped up his early Goldshire dishes, pushed his cooking skill into the triple digits, and even stumbled into a few surprises along the way. We learned the modern version of Westfall stew, met Stormwind's shadiest recipe dealer, the legendary Kendor Kabonka, and unlocked a whole feast worth of nostalgic dishes like Red Ridge goulash, smoked sagefish, and gobbling deviled clams. Clarence braved Westfall, Red Ridge, the wetlands, the barrens, and even the Naga-infested tunnels leading to Blackfathom Deeps, all in the name of good food. He earned achievements, upgraded his gear, filled out nearly 2 full pages of his classic cookbook, and even set up a brand new home base in Ferrymore. And of course, after all that adventuring, we teleported back to the real world and cooked your winning dish, beer-basted boar ribs. Tender, sticky, sweet, smoky, completely delicious, and an absolute landslide winner in last episode's poll. But that was just episode 2. Today, Clarence's culinary journey gets even more ambitious. New zones, new challenges, new recipes, new chaos, and a brand new set of dishes for you to choose from at the end of the episode for our next IRL cook-off. So tie your apron, grab your tankard, and sharpen your chef's knife. Episode 3 starts right now. We start off today's journey in a newly found home, the Demon's Bane Tavern of Ferrymore Isle. Clarence steps outside to stretch his legs, watching the mist roll across the marsh, and before heading anywhere dangerous, we take a moment to flip open his in-game cooking glossary. This is something I want to start using a lot more going forward. Azeroth is packed with vendors, hidden quest rewards, and obscure NPCs who teach strange recipes you might never stumble across on your own. The glossary makes it so much easier to track them down, which means more dishes to learn, more ingredients to hunt, and more authentic cooking progression for Clarence. So today, before we start chasing beasts across continents, we'll first explore what options the cooking glossary has to offer, and use it to guide our next steps on his culinary journey. Clarence soon spots a promising recipe, something he hasn't learned yet, and something that'll give him a healthy chunk of cooking experience. Perfect. A quick check of the cooking glossary shows the vendor we're looking for, Viviana, a night elf vendor tucked away deep in the lush forests of Ferrylus. Not exactly next door, but when has distance ever stopped an aspiring master chef? With a new goal in mind, Clarence packs his bags, tightens the straps on his armour, and heads straight for the nearest Griffin Master. Ferrylus is wild, overgrown, and crawling with creatures that would happily turn a wandering chef into their dinner. But if Viviana's selling recipes, that is our next destination. Time to take to the skies to see what awaits us in the Emerald Dream's slightly more dangerous cousin, the Forest of Ferrylus. After touching down in the jungle, Clarence heads to Viviana's usual spot, only to find a full-on skirmish between night elves and the Naga. With the area in chaos and no sign of her, he heads over to the Feathermoon stronghold instead. Sure enough, just outside the main camp, there's a small makeshift outpost, and Viviana is calmly sorting through her supplies like nothing happened. Perfect. After browsing her stock, Clarence spots some mouth-watering recipes, more than enough to keep him busy. For now, he picks up the hot wolf ribs and heads for the Flight Master to chase down another entry from the cooking glossary. One recipe instantly grabs his attention: mystery stew. Supposedly, there's a vendor in Desolus who can teach it. Sounds perfect, so let's go. A short flight later, we track down Janet, who happily parts with the mystery stew recipe. There's just one problem: we're a little bit underleveled for it, so it's time to cook a few dishes and skill up before we dive in. Next up is Thousand Needles, to hunt down the mystery meat. Wowhead claims a whole pack of Galak packhounds live here, but after combing the area, there's not a single one in sight. Thanks Wowhead. Checking Wowhead again, it turns out we can head back to Desolus. Apparently there are different hyena mobs roaming the northern side of the zone, so we hop on a flight and pray Wowhead isn't trolling us twice in one day. Arriving in the barren zone, Clarence scouts around and only finds 1 or 2 of the mobs he needs, but after pushing deeper into the area, he finally finally hits the jackpot. Multiple packs of hyenas patrolling the sands. With his growing bow skills, he picks them off one by one with surprising ease. With a solid stack of mystery meat secured, it's time to grab the final ingredient for our second dish of the episode. A quick check of the trusty beacon of knowledge points us towards Loch Modan, which honestly makes perfect sense. So we hop on the next ship across the ocean and set course for the Highlands. Once we arrive, Clarence heads into the Stout Lager Inn to take in the sights and sounds. After chatting with the innkeeper and the local tradesman, we still don't find the ingredient we're after, but we do spot a smoked bear meat recipe sold by Drac Roughcut. Naturally, we scoop that right up. While scanning the bar, Vidra waves us over from behind the counter. She needs a hand dealing with some black bears roaming the area, and in return, she'll teach us how to make blood sausages. Here in England, we call this black pudding, made from pig's blood. Sounds horrendous, but trust me, in a full English breakfast with a bit of brown sauce, it's incredible. Wasting no time, Clarence heads back outside to search the surrounding hills for the black bears. After a quick bear culling session, we return to the bar and hand Vidra the bear rump she asked for. True to her word, she teaches us how to make the blood sausages, and since there's a hearth right behind us, we fire it up and cook the hot wolf ribs and blood sausages right then and there, knocking off the first two recipes of this episode. With no luck finding a dwarven stout we need locally, we head to Ironforge and ask one of the guards if they know where to find this now legendary ale. They point us towards the nearest tavern, so we make our way inside and speak to innkeeper Firebeard, who happily sells us the skins of stout we need for our mystery stew. Since there's no hearth in sight here, we sneak up to the tavern's balcony and set a little makeshift campfire up, just enough to cook our stew to perfection. Beautiful. Curious if there's anything we're still missing in Ironforge, we ask another guard and make our way to the bronze kettle. Inside, Daryl Ricknerson welcomes us happily and teaches us two new recipes: barbecue buzzard wings and soothing turtle bisque. We learn them on the spot and add them to our tracker. While Clarence is scanning through the ingredients list, Daryl asks us for a quiet favour. He's running low on supplies for a batch of haggis. Never one to turn down a fellow chef, Clarence agrees to help. Luckily, all the ingredients are found right here in Ironforge, so we get straight to work. After a short round of errands, we bring everything back to Daryl. He rewards us with a fresh cooking skill up and some supplies. Items we'll definitely need later once we reach the Cataclysm era recipes. Next on our to-do list is gathering the bear meat for our smoked bear meat recipe. Luckily, we don't have to travel far as ice claw bears roam the snowy hills of Dunmoreau just outside the city, making it the perfect hunting ground. After hunting our prey for a little while on the snowy peaks and dealing with the Frostmourne trolls, who somehow still have a foothold in these lands after all these years, we finally gather the bear meat we need. A quick cook later, we've got ourselves some delicious smoked bear meat, and that bumps us up enough levels to finally learn the Sagefish Delight recipe. With our boots soaked from trudging through the snow, we hearth back home to our cosy local tavern. After having a quick chat with Craig in the kitchen to update him on our endeavours and selling a few odds and ends to Lillian behind the bar, Clarence sets off for the newly flooded Thousand Needles. Spotting giant gulls circling above some fallen turtles in the water, Clarence sees an opportunity. A well-placed shot later, he picks up what he needs, and then some. Alongside the meat, he finds a couple of big eggs, which we'll hang on to for later, and somehow a pair of cloth shoulders too. Looks like one of those gulls nicked them off some poor bugger, but hey, waste not want not. On they go. Now that we've got a decent bag of wings from the gulls, we might as well hunt down some of the terrapins while we're here. And a short hunting session later, we've added a nice chunk of turtle meat to our bags as well. Next on our list is the greater sagefish for the Sagefish Delight. That means a quick trip to Ungoro Crater, where the sagefish like to swim through the shallow streams that wind around the zone. While we're fishing, we reel in an odd waterproof journal, and inside is a technique that teaches us how to track nearby fish pools. That's going to come in very handy for our future fishing adventures. While searching the surrounding streams for more fish, Clarence stumbles upon an abandoned camp. and one of the crates is still intact. A quick peek inside reveals it's still full of cooking supplies. This clearly belongs to someone, and we can't just leave a fellow chef without their gear, can we? Following a thin trail of smoke rising in the distance, Clarence eventually tracks down a small group of adventurers who set up a rough camp and some basic defences against Ungoro's enthusiastic wildlife. He hands over the crate like a true good Samaritan, and after slipping on a snazzy hoodie fished up earlier, he heads home to dry off and fire up the stove. With everything gathered, we cook up the 3 recipes we collected ingredients for. That's 3 more dishes officially checked off in Clarence's cookbook. Let's take a look at how far we've come this episode. Looks like Clarence is doing pretty well. That's 1 full page and 1 recipe down already this episode, and 31 recipes in total so far in this challenge. After raising our cooking skill to a very respectable 201, just over 2/3 of the way through Classic, Clarence checks in with Craig to see if there's something new he can teach us. After rummaging through his well-worn cookbook, Craig grins and reveals a fresh recipe: spider sausages, another dish added to our growing culinary arsenal. Catching the boat to the wetlands, which luckily for us pulls up to the dock just as we arrive, we hop aboard and enjoy a short ride over the sea. Once we're back on solid ground, it's a quick trip up to Ironforge, where we can finally offload some of the odds and ends clogging up our bags. With any luck, a few eager buyers on the auction house will help fund our future culinary adventures. After a well-earned night of rest and relaxation in the city, Clarence swings by the mailbox, and to his delight, it's stuffed with sales. A whole heap of successful auctions, giving us a much-needed boost to fund our ongoing culinary journey. What a way to start the day. With our coins safely collected, it's time for Clarence to set foot in the Searing Gorge for the very first time. The greater lava spiders roaming these scorched lands are exactly what we need. Each one is a potential source of white spider meat required for our spider sausages. We need 2 pieces per sausage, but thankfully the drop rate is pretty generous, so it doesn't take long before we've got a solid stack. Setting up a quick campfire among the ash and brimstone, we get those bangers sizzling in our skillet right here in the heart of the gorge. Checking through our trusty cooking encyclopedia, I notice a couple of recipes we've missed, both sold by a fisherman out in Westfall. So let's head over there now and see what he's got for us. Arriving in Sentinel Hill, we offload a few bits and bobs to the vendor and spot a bowyer named William selling a surprisingly decent bow for only 2 silver and 75 copper. An absolute steal. So Clarence snatches that up instantly and gets it equipped. After soaking in the nostalgia of Westfall, wandering through the golden fields and along the windswept beaches, we make our way to the docks at the far end of the coast. There we find Cregan, the local fisherman, with a tidy little selection of recipes. Looking over his wares, we grab the clam chowder recipe and the spiced chili crab. The crab's a bit too high level for us at the moment, so we learned the chowder right away and took the crab recipe safely into our bags for later. Still hungry for more culinary wisdom, we make our way to Stormwind to visit our old friend. Arriving at the Pig and Whistle, we catch up with Kendor and pick up the curiously tasty omelette recipe, learning it on the spot, of course. While we're in the tavern, we stop by the innkeeper Megan and grab some ice cold milk, which we'll need for our clam chowder later. With a few more odds and ends posted on the auction house, it's time to head back to Westfall and start gathering our clam meat. Clarence makes light work of gathering the clams, as he's dealt with these murlocs more times than he can count. Next on our shopping list though is raptor eggs. Clarence remembers his father telling him stories of Stranglethorn when he was young. A vast jungle filled with raptors and great cats. A harsh and unforgiving land where only the strong survive. So that's our next destination. After arriving, Clarence takes a deep breath of the thick, humid air and slips deeper into the jungle. Sneaking through the foliage, he eventually finds a spot teeming with raptors. One by one they lunge, and one by one they fall. After a string of hard-fought duels, Clarence emerges victorious, tired, scratched up, but undefeated. With the raptor eggs finally secured, he hurries back home, eager to rest up in the warm comfort of the kitchen. Back at the hearth, it's time to whip up some curiously tasty omelettes and a hearty clam chowder. That's 2 more recipes crossed off in Clarence's growing cookbook. I've never actually tried clam chowder myself. It's not exactly an everyday dish here in the UK, but every time I hear the name, all I can think of is that scene from Ace Ventura.
What's the password? New England clam chowder. Is that the red or the white? I can never remember that. White?
What a film. With that out of the way, we step outside to see if there's any local vendors around the fort that have some culinary wisdom to share. After chatting with a few townsfolk and browsing the usual odds and ends, Clarence strikes gold. Helena Alden, the trade supplier, has 2 absolute banger recipes on offer: roasted raptor and dragon breath chili. Naturally, we snap both of those up immediately. With those added to our tracker, we set sails for Tanaris to hunt down more mystery meat from the roaming hyenas. Thankfully, the drop rates here are far better than in Desolus, so we clean this task up in no time at all. With a healthy stack of meat now secured, it's time to move on to gathering the rest of our ingredients for the remaining dishes on our list. For that, we first head to Feralus, because it looks like we've got our first real grind of the episode on our hands. The small flame sack we need for the dragon breath chili only drops from a handful of creatures, and the only one with a remotely decent drop rate is the Eldrith Darter inside the Dire Maul dungeon. This could take a while. Let's head over to see how painful this grind is going to be. As we make our way on foot through the jungle, a band of gnolls ambushes us. A quick skirmish later, we take them down and loot their treasure chest, finding a blue archaic defender sword, a seriously sweet transmog piece. Dodging a jungle's deadly wildlife, we finally reach the entrance of Dire Maul. Stepping inside, it quickly becomes obvious that Clarence isn't quite ready to take on the dungeon's tougher enemies alone. Looks like our hero may need a companion to see this part of the journey through. Walking back outside, feeling a little defeated, Clarence spots a lone hyena patrolling the area. After tossing it a steak, he gains its trust. Everyone, meet the newest companion on our journey, Meatball. Since it's clear that Dire Maul is off the table for now, let's see what our other options are. The Lost Whelps have a 9% drop rate, but apparently they're no longer in the game, so that's a no-go. The next best option? Scalding Whelps, though they only drop a small flame sack at a brutal 0.4% drop rate. Everything else has even worse odds, so it looks like these little fire breathers are our only viable choice for now. Taking a flight to the Badlands, Clarence heads straight for the canyon teeming with Scalding Whelps. Scanning their drop tables, there's some decent loot, most notably the Dark Whelpling pet with a minuscule 0.09% drop rate. Well, it's time to grind. And then this happens. After only about 10 kills, the pet drops. I cannot believe it, what an insane RNG roll that was. After a few hours of grinding, luck hasn't been on our side. No small flame sacks yet, and nothing else exciting has dropped either. Our inventory is full, so it's time for a quick trip to Stormwind to offload some items at the auction house, including that Dark Whelping pet and the archaic defender sword. If they sell, we'll be laughing all the way to the bank. Time for a change of scenery. Ungoro Crater it is. We don't have to go far to find what we need, because the entire zone is absolutely crawling with raptors. Perfect for farming. With those great drop rates and Meatball trotting loyally at our side, we carve through these dinos in no time and scoop up all of the raptor flesh we need. Onward to the next ingredient. With the raptor meat secured, we head back to Dire Maul, hoping Clarence has toughened up enough for another shot at those elusive darters. On the way, while grinding through the little dragons again, Clarence manages to snack himself a snazzy new cape and helmet. Look at him now. Our boy is starting to really look like the part. A hero? Definitely. A battle chef? Absolutely. Once inside Dire Maul again, things are already looking a little better. Clarence isn't strong enough to fight the whole dungeon yet, but thankfully, with some patience and careful sneaking, we're actually able to slip past most of the trash mobs entirely. No big pulled packs, no surprise wipes, just a clean, quiet path straight to the Eldrith darters we need. Let's hope they're in a generous mood today. There's only ever a maximum of 2 possible spawns for these little creatures in this entire dungeon, and to make things even more fun, they always spawn with a group of other mobs. On top of that, there's also a real chance that on any given run, they simply don't spawn at all. So this could get messy. If luck's on our side, we'll see both spawn each time, or at least one, just so the grind doesn't drag forever. The silver lining though is that their spot is right near the entrance, meaning we can dip in, check the spawn, and reset quickly without committing to the full dungeon clear. This is only a 30% drop rate, so we can't expect this to be quick, and since each darter is glued to a whole entourage of angry ghosts, we're probably going to have to kite the entire pack just to land a kill before they dogpile us. So, deep breath, Clarence tightens his new cape, Meatball growls, and we step forward. Let's go. Okay then, that wasn't too bad at all. Each run got a little smoother each time, the kiting got cleaner, and Meatball stopped running off to bite everything that moved, and eventually, boom, we finally got the small flame sack we came for. Bag secured, quest complete, sanity mostly intact. Let's get out of here and head right home. Back at home base, it's time to fire up the stove and get this hearty pot of dragon breath chili simmering. The smell alone could probably one-shot a murloc, but it looks absolutely delicious. And with that, we've wrapped up the final recipe for today's episode. Look at those pages, completely filled. That brings us to 6 full pages in Clarence's cookbook. Excellent progress and an even better feast. Well, with that being said, you all know what comes next. It's time to check the latest poll to see what we're cooking IRL this episode. And once again, you all absolutely delivered. With a huge lead over the other options, Dragon Breath Chili comes to the top. That also makes this free for free on recipes straight from the official WoW cookbook. Not bad at all. I'm genuinely excited for this one. I love spicy food, and now that the weather's getting colder, this dish is shaping up to be a perfect winter warmer. Before we set off on our ingredient farming session, the cookbook actually gives us a bit of lore for this recipe, which is nice. It reads, while this chili is unlikely to make you breathe flames, it lives up to its name in other ways. Thick and flavourful with just enough of a bite to satisfy. It's a hearty dish popular with melee types, who credit it with giving them a fighting edge before important battles. The original recipe comes from the swampland of Duskwallow Marsh in Kalimdor, but this version is a little different. No dragons were harmed in making it. So without further ado, let's get shopping. Heading into town on foot this time, I duck out of the rain and slip into the indoor market. First stop at our local butcher. I pick up 500 grams of braising steak and 500 grams of beef mince. Then it's off to the nearby supermarket for the rest. Tinned beans, chopped tomatoes, tomato puree and a bottle of amber ale. Only one problem, no sausage meat anywhere. I even checked the supermarket next door, still nothing. No stress though, I grab a pack of regular sausages instead. We'll just peel the skins off when we need and start cooking. A little extra prep never hurt anyone. Finally back home and out of the cold, here's the haul from our IRL ingredient farm. So without any more delay, let's get prepping. First up, the chilies. I slice them open and remove the seeds, then dice them nice and small. We've got a few different varieties here, so I'm hoping they'll give the chili a good kick with a bit of flavour variation too. Next, I chop half a whole white onion and pop everything into a small bowl for later. And yes, I absolutely make sure to wash my hands thoroughly afterwards. The last thing I need is rubbing chili into my eyes mid-episode. Next step is to remove the sausage meat from the skins, so we've got a nice portion ready for the chili. Once that's prepped, we get our large pot on the stove with a splash of olive oil, and in go the onions and chilies, cooking them for around 5 minutes until they soften and get brown. With that done, we're adding a sausage meat, the braising steak and the minced beef, letting everything cook for another 5 to 10 minutes until the meat gets some good colour on it. Next goes the spices and the tomato puree, making sure to give everything a good stir so the meat gets coated evenly. Once that's mixed through, in goes the red ale, beef broth and finally our tins of beans and tomatoes. Making sure to give it all a proper stir so every ingredient is fully mixed together, we turn the heat down to low and let it reduce for around 2 hours. This gives the sauce time to thicken up and lets the meat cook down beautifully, making sure that braising steak turns wonderfully tender. Some waiting around and getting very hungry later, the chili has finally reduced and it's ready to serve. Let's get it into some bowls for tea and finish each with a generous sprinkle of freshly grated cheddar cheese. Well, I have to say, this has to be the tastiest thing we've made so far. The heat is spot on, the meat is perfectly tender, and that cheddar cheese on top just ties the whole thing together. This is a solid 10 out of 10 for me, easily. And the best part, we've got plenty left over for the next few days for leftovers. With that, we officially wrap up episode 3 of the Cheflocked challenge. Thank you all so much for watching. Keep an eye on the community tab for episode 4's cooking poll, and as always, I'll see all of you legends in the next one.